The Audi TTS has never really satiated the senses for the true sports car enthusiast, or so the journalist says. However, I recently drove the previous model to this, the 8J, and it was actually quite good. I mean, of course it was no drift machine, but unlike most Audis, there was feel in the chassis, grip where I least expected it, and most surprisingly, a smile on my face. This 8S is said to be a large improvement over even the already very good 8J. So let's get onto some roads and put it to the test. My name's Tom, and you're watching Paragon Cars. Let's go. We're on TikTok, so if you want to see weekly updates, behind the scenes footage, and some funny stuff, click the link in the description below to follow us now. Now firstly, I want to mention the styling, because I think they nailed it with this version. Remember, this car was initially released in 2015, with things like matrix LED headlights, the virtual cockpit, and digital climate controls. It really was ahead of its time, and that means that it still looks just as fresh today. What's also fresh over the 8J is the drivetrain. This newer TTS uses the EA 888 2-litre turbo, and if you've been watching the channel for a while, you'll know that this is one of, if not my favourite, 2-litre engines. Why? Well, stock this thing runs 306 horsepower and 380 Nm of torque. Already a good figure, but with just a stage 1 map, you can take this thing up to 360 horsepower and 500 Nm of torque. When you combine that with the fact you're putting the power down through all 4 wheels and shifting with a dual clutch gearbox, you have a pretty fast car in your hands. Sadly for me today, this TTS is stock. However, it should still put up a fairly good time on the 30 to 70 sprint. Let's find out. Well, as I expected, it performed as expected. It posted a time of 4.14 seconds, almost identical to the Golf R and Audi S3 alike. One thing I'd like to point out though is that even though the Mercedes A45 has nearly 80 more horsepower over the TTS still beat it on the 30 to 70 sprint. This engine seriously packs a punch. And so does the interior. I can't think of any other brand that's able to get this minimalist yet utterly beautiful look to their interiors. This TTS is driver focused yet comfortable and easy to use. You'd think that controlling everything through one screen would be a nightmare, but the virtual cockpit's UI is just bang on. Even the rest of the cabin, although minimalist, is still practical. You have key storage, 2 cup holders, and moving on to the boot, because even though this is a sporty car, it has a proper hatchback style tailgate. Then once you fold the frankly useless rear seats down, you actually get a decent sized boot. To bring perspective with the seats up, this TTS is only 40 litres short of a VW Golf. Seats down is a different story, but the TTS is still vastly more cavernous than pretty much any other sports car. There's even more storage under the boot floor as well. It truly is a bit of a TARDIS, this thing. Anyway, let's get onto the road and see if this TTS can impress. Do you know what? This is actually the first time I've had a proper go in a brand new Audi TTS. Well, not brand new, but basically new. We did actually review a 2008 Audi TTS, which if you want to go and see that review, I'll put a link in the top right hand corner for you. And that was great. It was like a sportier Audi S3, so I'm guessing this TTS is going to be the same kind of thing. Bit sportier than an S3, but not a proper sports car. Doesn't mean it's bad though, still fun to drive. Especially this one, because this is fitted with mag ride suspension, which means when I put it in dynamic, I'm going to have a nice stiff suspension setup and I can chuck it around some corners. Anyway, driving around town in comfort mode, that mag ride system gives you the best of both worlds. That mag ride system gives you the best of both worlds, and basically means the car is just comfortable to drive, doesn't feel remotely sporty in comfort, just nice and comfortable and relaxed. Steering's nice and light, brake pedal, throttle pedal, all really easy to modulate. I've got a hill hold assist as well, so when I come to a stop I can take my foot off the brake It's just a really good daily driver, even though it looks fairly sporty. And the virtual cockpit just looks wicked in this. Usually I'd have it in this view, but because I've got the GoPro on the dash, I need to see how fast I'm going, so I'm going to have to leave it in this view, unfortunately. But I mean, this is 2016 they introduced this. Or sorry, late 2015 they introduced this, and it still looks fantastic. In terms of seat comfort, it's very good. I can adjust the pitch of the base, of course the backrest. Also got things like lumbar support, and the side of the seat is pretty good. It holds you in nicely. Only thing I'd want, and this is typical with all Audis, is that I want to get a little bit lower. It's not like a BMW where I can sit right on the floor of the car. You're always sitting a little bit too high, I think. Dual clutch gearbox, goes through gears nice and smoothly. They calibrate them really well these days. They don't have that jerkiness that they used to have. It just means that the overall package for a daily driver is really nice. Even things like, you know, the armrest being able to go up to a certain position and lock is a really small but really nice thing. It just means you can rest your arms in a sort of very comfortable position. Then if you're thinking of buying one of these, I think spec-wise, I mean, this is pretty much as high as you can go. Getting these sports seats, having the digital climate is one thing I really think you should get if you get a TTS, because without it you get this really cheap looking plastic, but with digital climate you get these really nice controls, and they're all very satisfying to use. And like even things like your heated seat controls are in a digital button, which is really cool. Already the steering definitely feels more positive than it does in a equivalent Audi S3. Obviously they've made the track slightly wider, but I don't think that would make the steering feel more positive. It has this tightness to it that an S3 just doesn't have. Like, it controls its mass just a little bit better. And in terms of parking, the TTS is, well, a pretty small car. It's Audi S3 size because it is on the same chassis. And it's fairly easy. Visibility out the back is surprisingly good for a sporty little car. However, saying that, visibility out the side isn't quite as good as you might expect. So having something like a reverse camera isn't a must, but it is a nice to have. It's also really cool the way it comes up. It comes up right in the centre of the dash, which does just look pretty cool, doesn't it? However, because that view's blocked, I absolutely cocked that up. Try again. This is where you do notice this is a little bit wider than the Audi S3. That combined with the fact you've got big coupe style doors does make it surprisingly hard to get out of sometimes. Being lower as well also doesn't help. That's the only time where you notice this is a bit of a sportier car than any other Audi. Not the end of the world though. Let's give this lorry some room to turn. Okay, how does this gearbox do out of a junction? Half throttle. Look at that, quattro system comes in nicely. And it flings you up to 30 miles an hour. Even in comfort mode, it responds well. Turbo lag is there, but it's a 2-litre turbo engine, so there's going to be a bit of turbo lag. But it's very quick, it's very effective, very efficient. Talking about efficiency, let's reset our computer and see what kind of MPG we can get on the motorway. Audi say on the combined cycle this will do 39.7 miles per gallon, which is pretty decent out of a sort of 300 plus horsepower car. Extra urban 47 mpg, which I have seen out of cars like a Seat Leon Cupra, but they are a bit lighter and therefore a bit more efficient. This is hauling along a Haldex system with it, as in quattro. So I don't know, but we'll see. Hopefully we can get at least above 40. These engines are known for giving you the best of both worlds as well. They hit that sweet spot of efficiency and performance. And talking about performance, let's take this thing round a roundabout and have a quick taste of the handling. Right then, drive select. Can use the favourites button, but I'm going to use this button down here. Get us into dynamic. This gives me sharper steering, heavier steering as well. Heightened throttle response. Makes the gearbox sharper. This is the 6-speed DSG, which is weird because I thought this had the 7-speed, but oh well. We're going to leave it in S for now. We'll go in manual later, and then let's just get the traction into sports as well. Steering's heavier, but it's actually not too heavy, which is nice. We've got a car in front of us now, so might have to go a bit slower. And it just grips. It's just effective, and has some quite comically loud DSG farts. I wasn't expecting that. That sounds quite funny. I might have to do that again. Hang on. That sounds ridiculous. Sounds good though. Right, let's not get carried away. Into eco mode, or efficiency as Audi call it. And let's see if we can hit 40 miles per gallon. So this is one of the negatives about Audi's efficiency mode, is it really deadens the throttle pedal quite a lot more than efficiency does in cars like BMWs or Mercedes. They're like really trying to get you not to use the turbo basically. But you know, give it a little bit more gas and it does pick up nicely. This being the 6-speed, it kind of just stays in 6th gear, as you really don't need to downshift with this gearbox. And you'll notice at 70 miles an hour, there you go, I'm sitting at nearly 3,000 RPM, which is quite high to be honest. And it does mean if you do something like a race delete in the car, you get a bit of noise coming into the cabin, which isn't always welcome. Overall though, still fairly quiet. I would compare it to something like a VW Golf, just like a box spec Golf, or maybe even Golf R. Golf R is a little bit louder inside because of the bigger wheels. So it's not bad, but for Audi, I think it could be a little bit better. The Audi S3 is definitely a little bit quieter inside. You know, you get a little bit more wind noise from up here, having the frameless windows. And yeah, so if you are doing longer journeys, it might not be the car you want. In terms of comfort though, it is very good. Seats are still really comfortable. I can get in pretty much the exact position I want, not quite low enough, but in terms of comfort they're very good. Steering relaxes nicely, wants to go in a straight line. You know, this Audi just make cars that basically want to sit at 120 to 150 miles an hour for 12 hours a day. That's all they ever want to do. And this Audi TTS is the same. It just really likes sitting in a straight line, doing high speeds and lots of miles. One thing I find odd about the spec of a lot of Audi TTs though is they came with cruise control, or they, in fact, a lot of them didn't even come with cruise control as it's an optional extra, but they all seem to have come with lane assist. Like, I thought lane assist would be good if you had something like adaptive cruise, but without cruise control, what's the point of having lane assist? It's just kind of an annoyance then. A bit weird. Anyway, we're going to do about, I think it's 16 miles on the motorway. I keep saying it's 20, but I think it's actually 16. And we're going to see what kind of MPG we can get out of this thing.
You could call me filthy. 어머리에서 왔지. NYC Timberland 구두 입고 왔지. LAX touchdown. I ain't sleeping a beat. Sleep on a beach. China 모네가 도착했지. 난 아직 알지. I got a lot of things on my 말만 하지.
As you can see, there's loads of traffic, so there's no real point in me prolonging this test any further, because we're not really going to get an accurate figure. Anyway, what we did manage to do is still 35 miles per gallon sitting in slow moving traffic. So there's no doubt in my mind that on a longer journey you're easily going to get 40 miles per gallon out of this thing, which is pretty good really. You know, just over 300 horsepower, 0 to 60, 4.3 seconds. I'd say that's pretty decent for the performance. Anyway, let's have a taste of that performance now and go and get onto some proper roads. Okay, we're back in dynamic. Stability control is fully off. And we're in manual. U-turn. Oh, that exhaust sounds wicked. And it does hook well, you know. The front end is so tight on these. That DSG's fucking fart sounds ridiculous. Yeah, it's just a further improvement over the old one. Front end feels amazing, I have to say. It just seems to have unlimited amounts of grip. Where the S3 would be understeering, this has still got plenty left to give. Let's see if we can do a little sound check through here. Go in first gear, then hopefully we don't get too much wind noise. That sounds ridiculous. It's really odd because the exhaust itself isn't that loud. It's just that DSG fart is... it's like a thunderclap. The handling is amazingly decent. Wow. This is an Audi that's surprising me. This is a very strange sensation. This engine as well is just a peach. Got snappy gear changes. Just does everything you want. A stage 1 map on this would be pretty beastly. That's just so ridiculous. So utterly ridiculous. Brilliant. The thing I love about this engine is just the way the torque comes in low down and so quickly. So like 2,000 revs from 60, put your foot down and it's already there. It's already giving me the full amount of torque. In terms of brakes, they're pretty decent, you know, for fast road driving. I'd say they're good enough. If you're going to take this thing to a track regularly though, I would probably upgrade the brakes. You know, maybe just go for some better pads. But it's the front end that... God, really wasn't expecting it to be this tiny. Like, I could take this to a track and genuinely have fun in this thing. Like, look at the grip level. Wow. This has so much more grip than an S3. I know it's not just the tyres. See if there's a gap in traffic, then I can really give it some. Wow. I mean, to put that in perspective, I'm going around there as fast as I can. Or sorry, as fast as something like a BMW M4. What? And I mean, obviously there's no drama coming from the back end, but it's certainly not understeering. Wow. The previous TTS was already pretty good. Like, you did notice a difference between that and the equivalent S3 of the time, but this is monstrous. I remember actually Jeremy Clarkson reviewed a TTRS, which has, you know, even more handling mods than the TTS, but he said in that the front end was surprisingly good. And I have to say, even this TTS is really, really impressive. Far more impressive than I thought it was going to be. It's genuinely surprised me, this. Wow. I mean, this has got, like, Porsche levels of grip. I'm really confused. This shouldn't be that good. Right, let's take it to a tighter B road and see what it can do there. Okay, smaller B road. Let's see what we can do. That just sounds ridiculous. It's quite good though. Look at this mag-ride system dealing with the bumps well. Wow. This is a bit of a weapon. Steering is sharp, positive, nice and fast. My goodness. This is a lot more than I was expecting. Yeah, suspension controls its, mass well. Steering is sharp, surprisingly positive. Doesn't break traction, but it's really satisfying to just exploit the whole chassis. And it's a very capable chassis. I'm kind of lost for words, to be honest. Right, let's see if we can hit 60 before the corner. I'm sure we can. Easily. These things are a lot quicker than you'd think. Do you know what? I'm having quite a bit of fun. And this is an Audi. Yes! I can be tidy with it. I'm not used to this. This sort of feeling is usually only reserved for BMWs and Porsches. Look how tight I can be with this thing. My God. I'm going to have to go again. Genuinely, I didn't think I'd have this much fun. This is a serious bit of kit. Oh my God. It's so dialed in, so sharp. Got a bit of traffic now, so I've got to slow down. So I may as well talk about it. Genuinely, if you're thinking of getting an S3, look at one of these first, then take them for a proper test drive. And I mean like a proper test drive. This car is no joke. Like this compared to something like a BMW M240i. I think even in good weather, you're going to have your work cut out for you driving that BMW. This car has left me speechless just now. Like, look at the control from the chassis there. I'm not having to put any big movements in. It just does exactly what I want. Wow. I mean, again, not oversteering, not being any kind of, it's not Larry. I'm going to have to think about this and come back to you with a conclusion, I think. This has genuinely surprised me. In conclusion then, the Audi TTS is still not a true sports car. I'm sorry for the owners, it's just not. However, I want you to shift your perspective on this car. This is an Audi S3 that handles the way it should have done from factory. It's lower, it's wider, it's sharper, more responsive, and just has insane levels of grip. So if you're thinking of buying a fun and sporty car, then the Audi TTS might just actually be the right choice for you. Anyway, as always, I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, give it a like, and why not subscribe? Because not only can you see more content like this, you can see everything we have for sale, which does actually include this really nice Audi TTS. Anyway, my name's Tom, and you've been watching Paragon Cars. I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.